Săptămâna trecută am avut un DEVSTREAM unde ne-au arătat detalii despre noul Warframe numit Dante, Inaros Rework, un nou sistem de endgame, noi moduri Augment și mai multe, așa că hai să le discutăm. Noul Warframe Dante are ca armă Exalted o carte în care putem să punem toate modurile de la Tome de pe ea fără restricții. De asemenea vine cu o aură universală, ceea ce înseamnă că poți pune orice mod aura pe el fără să folosești forma, să schimbi simbolul. Din ce am înțeles, pasiva lui este că dă mai mult damage pe inamicii care îi ai scanați complet în codex. Prima lui abilitate este să-ți sumonezi cartea, iar gameplay-ul lui se bazează pe un combo de abilități. De exemplu, dacă ai cartea activată și castezi de 2 ori a doua abilitate, iar apoi apeși a patra abilitate, vei activa un spell ce îți dă Overguard. A treia lui abilitate aruncă un spell ce dă damage, iar dacă o castezi de 2 ori, iar apoi apeși 4, primești bonus damage. Ca să explic mai ușor următoarele abilități, 2 plus 3 plus 4 castezi un spell ce summonează o carte în jurul tău, ca o sentinelă, iar 3 plus 2 plus 4 summonează 3 cărți ce vor da damage în jurul tău și aduc aggro-ul la inamici pe tine. Sună destul de confuz, dar în același timp chiar sună promițător acest Warframe. Voi ce părere aveți? Inaros în sfârșit primește un rework și chiar arată ok. Eu nu m-am jucat așa mult Inaros, dar din ce am arătat sună chiar bine. Așa că voi lăsa un video în care explică exact cum funcționează el acum.
Rework. So let's start first with the hardest thing to do on Inaros, which is dying. I'm probably gonna have to fast forward to this. So almost there. There we go. So now you turn into a sand version of yourself that can attack enemies, and you can see that meter on the center, and basically that kind of shows you how much you're reviving, and boom, you're back up. So basically it's based on the amount of hits that you do. Every time you die though, that the amount of hits it takes to revive grows more. So basically if you die a lot, it's gonna get harder and harder to come back. But if you don't die for a while, the number starts going back down, so you basically can't recover. And his first ability works mostly the same, so you still do the sandstorm, and then that opens enemies for finishers, and those finishers with your passive heals you, so you're there, so you heal back. And that's pretty much how it's always worked. The main thing that changed for this ability is more not on Inaros himself, but around Inaros, which is basically that we're making those finishers available to more enemies and making it so it's more consistent. Because right now there's a lot of enemies that you can try to do those finishers and they don't work. So in the patch they'll start working, and that doesn't only benefit Inaros, but it benefits Ash and anyone else that can open enemies for finishers. For his 2 and 3, we kind of combine them, so now it has the mechanics of 3, so it's basically the whirlwind, but you can cast it much faster. It's limited duration now, so instead of a drain, it just lasts a certain amount of time, and it's faster. So you can see here, I basically can move quite a bit faster in there. And most importantly, it drags enemies to be right below you. So since it drags enemies to you instead of tossing them all over the level, then you can after that do a ground finisher on them. And because you have your passive that heals you, you basically get a lot of heals from those ground finishers. And also, some of the benefits from the old second ability are now part of the third. So you can see when I cast this, I'm actually invulnerable, and I'm healing for every enemy that's within the range of my whirlwind. I am healing a little bit. So if there's a bunch of enemies, you just go in, whirlwind them together, and that heals you, and then they drop at your feet, and you start doing ground finishers on them. So you can combo that pretty nicely. So his 2 and his 3, we kind of merged them. But for his 4th, we did actually something weird, which is basically split it in 2. So now you have the armor part as his 3, and you can see it here. So basically when you tap, you charge, and then you can see in the lower right, you get a little meter for the armor. You can move now while you cast it instead of being static like it was before, so that helps a lot. And the benefits from the augment, which protect you from status, are now embedded into the ability. So basically, whenever you take a status, instead of actually suffering the status, you get protected. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, so for example, this ones would give me corrosive. If I stand on it, you can see my armor went down, but I did not get the corrosive. And it gives you protection for a certain duration, so it doesn't get consumed super fast. So that's basically the trick. Now, the augment, which used to give you the status protection, now it gives you death protection, which it's a little bit of a twist that we made there. Essentially, it's a shorter cooldown than any of the other death protection augments we've done before. But after the invulnerability from the protection ends, you actually get hit with a slash proc. And that slash proc can kill you if you don't heal fast. So it synergizes really well with you know, his finishers or his 2. You know, obviously his 2 makes you invulnerable, so you don't take damage from the slash, and also you can heal by getting close to enemies. So basically it's a dead protection that then you have to actually do something about it, because if you don't do something about it, the slash will kill you. So that's his 3. And his 4th gets the swarm part of the previous 4, but quite amplified. So let me show you. So when I cast the 4, you can see they get swarmed, and then that swarm can spread around. Essentially it CCs them, and any enemy killed during that swarm will actually create a sandcat. The sandcats are bugged right now in this demo, so sadly I cannot quite show them to you. But basically what they do is they attack enemies and they also swarm those enemies. So they keep kind of spreading that CC around. And it can be really effective to kind of keep entire rooms kind of controlled with the swarm. The old swarm used to do 1 corrosive hit at the very end. Now it does it every tick. So that means it can also be used as a pretty effective way to shred armor, essentially. So to recap, when you die now, you turn into a sand version of yourself that can revive by hitting enemies. The 1 is mostly unchanged. The 2 and the 3 got merged, so now you get the whirlwind. It's much faster, it heals you, it gives you immunity, and then gathers enemies instead of throwing them around. His 3 is what used to be the armor part of his 4th. Now you can move while you cast it instead of being stuck in place. It has the default, the status protection by default, so now you'll be protected from any status as long as you have that up. His 4th now is the swarm part of that, and basically it casts now into a cone instead of into a single unit, and basically all those units get swarmed, and then that swarm can spread around CCing enemies. It can strip armor, and any enemies that die during while they're affected by swarm will create a sandcat that will assist in spreading that swarm even more. I hope you like it, and I hope we'll get it into your hands soon. Adios!
Avem 10 moduri noi Augment ce vor apărea în acest update, așa că aveți aici imaginile cu ele. Sincer, chiar sunt curios de cel de la rele, dacă o să ajute acest Warframe să fie mai jucabil. În vești bune avem că Mirage nu trebuie să se mai folosească de umbră și lumină pentru abilitatea ei Eclipse. Acum, dacă ți-ai apăsat pe abilitate, poți schimba din ele. În vești puțin cam triste, Norish primește nerf. Pentru jucătorii care știu despre ce vorbesc, una dintre cele mai folosite abilități o să primească un nerf, însă developerii au spus că vor ca această abilitate să rămână cea mai folosită. Dar problema acum este că numărul de playeri pe care o folosesc este mult prea mare și vor să mai balanceze lucrurile. Voi ce părere aveți? Eu sincer sunt cam de acord cu ce vor să facă, atâta timp când nu vor face abilitatea inutilă. Deluxe Skin-ul pe Styanax arată fenomenal, așa că dacă ești un fan la acest Warframe, ține acolo platina până apare. În final, developerii ne-au arătat un nou sistem de endgame ce o să vină cu acest update, mai exact, Deep Archimedia. Este o misiune săptămânală bazată pe 3 obiective, Exterminate, Defense și Assassination. Ce este interesant la acest mod este că toate aceste obiective le faci într-o singură misiune, iar pentru a mări reward-urile trebuie să folosești modifierele cerute. Dacă folosești toate modifierele, primești garantat la final Legendary Arcane-ul, care era reward la Netrasel. Pentru a accesa această misiune ai nevoie de rank 5 la Cavia și să folosești 2 kill Netrasel. Desigur, mai erau chestii de spus din developer stream-ul ăsta, dar am zis cam ce este mai important din punctul meu de vedere. Dacă v-a plăcut, un like mă ajută și mă motivează să scot clipuri de genul. Eu am fost Alex și ne auzim data viitoare.